building your fast casual business and making it be able, or hoping that it will be able to kind of make it through the pandemic or potentially a recession that could be approaching. So a lot of what we see in the industry today is really built on how to kind of proof your business. And today we're going to be talking with a brand leader that kind of has done just that. And it's going to be fun to, I think, dive into kind of where they are. My name is Paul Barron, and this is Fast Casual Nation. If you have not had a chance to get in on this, we cover a lot about a topic that all of you love, and that is the fast casual restaurant industry. A lot of times we'll go into brands, leaders, technologies, trends that are happening very specific to the fast casual sector. And joining me today is Pete Mora, who is the founder and CEO of Fajita Pete's out of Houston, Texas. Great to have you, Pete.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. So, Pete, let's go into a little bit about Fajita Pete's, kind of your business model, where you guys are today. I know you guys are franchising, kind of the size of your business. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. Well, right now we have 19 locations open here in Houston and throughout Texas. We're in Dallas, College Station. We've been lucky enough to grow in the last year as far as territories that we've awarded in Austin, Colorado, and Missouri. So we're excited about the opportunities to come. We come from a full service background, which is, I think, very important to. I lead with that with everybody because I think it's important in the quick service space that we still want to maintain that type of connection with the guest, as little as the interaction may be.
Yeah, your situation is a little bit odd. You started as a full service restaurant, evolved into more of a limited service, fast casual QSR concept. What was it that kind of helped you make that decision of being able to leap to that service model?
I think just being in the full service restaurant industry for 6 years, it really taught me what I wanted to do and what I did not want to do if I were to stay in the business. We opened our first store right out of college. So I was young enough to be dumb enough to think I knew everything, and young enough to try to figure out where I wanted to go in the future. Um, Building that restaurant, getting it operational was a blessing. We were successful. But once I started to develop a catering channel, I really saw that that was the future of what I wanted to do. I graduated from the entrepreneurship program at the University of Houston, and my mindset was always to get something that I could scale. And I saw the full service model as good. It definitely taught me a lot about the industry, but I saw the scalability of the delivery and catering model as a quicker path to where I ultimately wanted to get.
Now, you guys were quite a bit ahead of the curve when it comes to off-premise. When you look at that model today, obviously catering took a fairly hard hit, but takeout and delivery exploded, obviously, especially within the fast casual space. When you kind of look at these two categories, because obviously, you know, catering is going to come back. It's not something that's going away. Most likely we'll see it even have another explosion in the market. But the likelihood is that we will see takeout and delivery stick. I know there are pundits and other executives in the industry that are not so sure if takeout and delivery is going to be a sticky model going forward. What are your thoughts on, I mean, you're kind of betting your entire business model on this. Do you feel like this is going to be something that really amps up the way consumers get food in the future?
Yes, I think that it's not something that's pandemic driven necessarily. We've been doing it, like you said, since 2008. So we've been able to carve out that niche in the space for a while. I think the pandemic maybe accelerated the way people consume food. 95%, 90 to 95% of our food was already consumed outside our walls. So it wasn't really a change for us. We have a very small square footage, and you know, a few tables were there for people that wanted to come in and grab a quick lunch. But I think it is gonna open the eyes to people who were maybe late to join the delivery and pickup model. And I think it's just providing more opportunity for those concepts.
Yeah, and in franchising this system, obviously your unit economics are considerably different than you know, a typical fast casual where you have a lot smaller footprint. You know, labor is completely repositioned. that
Hmm.
whole model. Do you find potential franchisees coming into the system and looking at this as a very unique opportunity and saying, this is a little different. I like going this direction, especially now. Do you guys see a lot more inquiries on franchising?
Yes, we saw a lot more increase. Well, it all happened at the same time. We actually started looking to franchise at the beginning of last year, and then the
Okay,
pandemic happened. So I think
right,
both things were working at the same time as far as us doing some intentional outreach, and then just the model itself presenting itself to at the right time. Uh,
right.
the the low overhead was something that we find to be very attractive to people. The simple menu is
Yep,
very attractive because the small square footage, the simple menu leads to the simple equipment package, which leads to less staff that you need to produce the
yeah,
food that we produce. And I think the ticket average is also something that's very attractive to people
sure.
in this from our model.
I'm kind of curious. Let's get into the kind of the ones and O's here is on unit economics.
Hmm.
Typical fast casual, entry level, anywhere between $400 and $800,000 to get a unit off the ground.
Hmm.
Some cases we're over $1 million, depending on your build out. Where do you guys fall in that range?
We fall right below that. The highest I've seen people spend between 250 and people spend 420. So we're in
Okay,
that range. I think that's
you can.
the range that we
What kind of
quote.
what kind of equipment package is needed for fajita Pete's?
You need a grill, you need a stove, a stock pot, a skillet, a fryer, love, and a good hood. We're 80% to 85% kitchen in our spaces. So the front of the house is
Right.
very limited. We have a counter where we
Yeah.
process orders, and we have a couple of margarita machines because we do margaritas to go, and bottled sodas right now. But it's pretty straightforward. One bathroom,
Yeah.
so we keep it pretty simple.
Yeah, I like it. And now we're looking at kind of an evolution of fast casual's footprint. We're seeing a lot of different and newer models that are working, and one of them is kind of your model, which is smaller footprint, potentially expanding out to even other menus. Do you see the future of maybe ghost kitchens or virtual brands being able to live inside yours? What you guys have going?
I think right now we're pretty much during peak hours we're at capacity, so
Hmm.
I wouldn't see us taking on a virtual brand. I'd be hesitant if I did. I would add it in a daytime that's not as busy, obviously, like everybody
Right.
else is doing. But you mentioned earlier in the interview about catering coming back, and we do think it's
Yeah.
going to come back in some shape or form. And I think we're going to bet on that as far as we're
Hmm.
concerned. Now, maybe popping up in the kitchen with our concept in somebody's underutilized space at a day
Yeah.
part that they don't capitalize on would be something interesting for us. And I think there's a lot of great partners that we could uh, do that with in the future. But as far as us bringing in a model, I think the square footage kind of limits our ability to do that. But
Yeah.
it protects us in other sides of the equation.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it definitely does. I mean, cost of operations are going to be a lot lower. How many people take to operate your unit? If you say a good size unit.
I mean, for example, the original unit does $2 million in sales out of 1,600 square feet. Uh,
Phew.
we
Wow.
open till 8:30 only, and then like I said, it's all out the door. So
Yeah.
on that unit, you'll be having we have our own drivers also. I think
Hmm.
that's important to note. We'll have two cashiers, four drivers, and five cooks on the busiest night of the week. And
Right.
then you adjust to your business because we're very very cognizant of our labor cost. Time cost is everything to us. So you adjust
Right.
the business, and you can run it with two people in the morning and three people
Wow.
at night in the
Okay.
back of the house, and you have your cashier and a couple drivers. You're able to knock it
So
out.
your model is really right in the bullseye of where a lot of operators are trying to get to. A lot lower employment
Hmm.
employee requirements, which reduces your labor costs. Still maintaining a 1.5 to 2.2 million dollar revenue. Obviously, you're going to have some packaging goods
Yeah.
increase, but your unit economics in terms of real estate and all that. Are you guys going after A locations, or will you settle in on a B or a C
We're
location?
going after A. I think the square footage gives us that ability to focus in on an
Yeah.
A and not price us out of the market. I want to go
Yeah,
back and say that my $2 million unit's our longest, most established unit. I don't want to sit here
sure.
and tell everybody that you open the doors and you get the 2 million,
Right.
But
Well, no, it's your flagship,
yeah, it's
but
my
that
baby,
kind of gives
my
people an
baby.
idea that,
Yeah,
hey, this
yeah.
can do it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And we're
Well,
seeing the run rate get a lot shorter now during this time of the
yeah.
pandemic as far as picking up the speed. But I think to your question, I'm sorry, getting the A locations is what we're going for, especially when we go into new markets.
Hmm.
We've been lucky to really be able to identify our target market, our target customer, and then with the low entry cost to really go target the A sites as well.
Yeah. Plus, your square footage requirement is much lower, so you're probably getting into a completely different competitive landscape. You're not
Hmm.
typically going up against national brands who are
Exactly.
bidding, asking price plus cost, especially in the suburban markets, which is where a lot of growth is happening now.
Hmm.
All right, so it looks like you guys have a very unique aspect. I want to talk to you about the catering side of this, which is something that we've continuously looked at. Obviously, we saw a huge fall off in last year in 2020.
Hmm.
There has been signs, and I've talked, we even have a couple of guys that host our takeout delivery and catering podcast, and both of those are catering operators in the sandwich segment, and they are seeing signs of growth again in catering, even though we are seeing a lot of lockdowns and in even restricted scenarios across the United States. Are you guys seeing any kind of catering growth right now?
We are seeing an uptick in the activity and the inquiries. We are getting more orders than we were towards the end of the year. It's
Yeah,
still not up to the level where it was this time last year,
right,
but we're hopeful because something interesting happened during our when COVID started. The catering went down to zero one day to the next. When the
right.
lockdown happened, but our ticket
Hmm.
counts went up so much that it outweighed it, and we're really thinking that that's a good opportunity for us to grow our
Right.
base during this time. For when the rebound happens, I think there'll be more options. I think the catering in the future will be slightly different. I don't think
Yep.
that there'll be as many of the 1,500 people caterings,
Right, right.
80,
Yeah.
200. I think it'll be smaller shops, smaller offices.
Smaller groups.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's what it'll be.
Well, and I think what you hit on something very important there, and I think this is something that a lot of operators need to do, and that is being able to get your base, starting to expand it. Because if you go from, we'll just use a number, you had 500 customers pre-pandemic. Now, because you've started going to more frequent orders, maybe you're now at 1,500, 2,000 customers.
Yep.
Those people are essentially brand evangelists for you to eventually, help you with the catering, because they might be in a small office that says, hey, let's do a Friday Fajita Pete's for 10
Yep.
people. And now you have 500 of those or 5,000 of those if you're continuing to build. Do you guys communicate through social? Are you building your email list? What's kind of the core area that you're trying to keep connections with your customers?
Well, we say, teachers, preachers, and coaches. So it's always going through the social media. If you can connect that way, we believe that within 1 to 2 miles of your store, people got to know
Uh-huh.
you. They got to, like I tell people, I don't care if they don't like you, but they
Very
got to know
localized.
you. If
Yeah.
they don't know you,
Yeah.
it's your fault. So it's just really
Yeah.
reaching out to the community, and that's the main way we target them. During the pandemic, with the contactless delivery and the technology we already had in place for online ordering, it really became a switch to getting people to download your app.
Yeah.
At the curbside, we had the QR codes exposed, in front of them. They could look at the menu through it. They could download the app and join the rewards program, and that's another way to get constant communication with them.
Sure.
So that was a good thing that we already had in place, that helped us get more customers in our database.
Yeah. Okay, I want to jump back to your economic model from a delivery standpoint, because you're doing something that very few concepts are doing, and that is, using your own drivers.
Hmm.
A lot of pizza concepts have been, have kind of proven this out, that it can be done. It is being done, on a national scale and very scalable. How does it work with you guys? Let's kind of walk me through. I'm a Fajita Pete customer. I've went through the online ordering process, but maybe I'm
Hmm.
only ordering for my family that night.
Yeah, perfect.
The order comes into your system. Take it from there.
Yeah, we get it. It joins the ticket queue. It goes to the I mean, it just goes straight in the process because we only have one customer. We only have a delivery customer. So it's not any
Right.
different for delivery and pickup is the same
Yep.
packaging.
Yep.
So it goes in the queue. The drivers have their special rack. When it comes out, they get them. They're usually already routed by that time. If
Right.
two orders can go together, if not, um, I like to have a driver waiting on the bag, not a bag waiting on the driver. And then they
Yep.
go out the door. Our goal is to get our orders out of the back at the latest within 15 minutes into your door. And another, our drive time is about 8 to 13 minutes around our stores.
Wow.
So we try to get it to you within 35 minutes. Now, sometimes during peak hours, you go to 45, maybe an hour, but those are,
Yeah.
understandable at that point.
Yeah, which is, that's right in line with what, a typical, third-party delivery driver system is going to do anyway. Are
Mhm.
you guys using any kind of logistics system to help your drivers kind of navigate? How does that all come together for you?
With the delivery area being so small, it's really not necessary. But we do have through our point of sale system a mapping that you just put the order numbers in there and it maps them for you.
Right. Yeah.
Um, Luckily, we have employee retention that after a few weeks, people know the streets in and
Know the
out.
area, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a good cab driver.
yeah,
They can definitely get there faster.
exactly.
I like the concept of what you guys are doing. When you look at building your base within these markets, especially these suburban markets, where small business is probably going to be a growth factor for you. The family ordering for dinner or lunch, a big part of your growth.
Mhm.
If you said, hey, if I'm looking at scaling this business in the next 2-3 years, where do you see potential growth coming from in those next few years? And that's, of course, aligning that we get past where we are economically right now.
What we've seen is we try to plant the flag. We've seen that the restaurant sell itself once there's one open in the market. Okay,
Right.
so we do attack that A sites, density, household income, and then from there it tends to spread to the suburbs. I think what you're alluding to is the shift of people maybe not coming into work every day during this
Right.
time and the suburbs themselves getting more dense. So I think that'll
Yeah.
allow more opportunity for us to get into those hubs um, easier than we would have in the
Mm-hmm.
past. I think that
Mm-hmm.
also just people get like you said earlier, getting used to ordering online, getting you now it's not
Right.
a random thing. We started this in 2008, and it was an
Mm-hmm.
education process to the customer
Sure.
to let them know, hey, we deliver. Oh well, we don't have we're not ordering for 100. I said no, no, no. As long as it's 2 to 3 people, will take it to your door. And now that's just opened a lot more opportunity for us in those markets as well.
Right. Yeah. So potential there is that dynamic shift that we're seeing in fast casual and really all of restaurants because they are starting to move into the suburbs
Hmm.
with the concern that we aren't going to see a major return to the large office buildings that usually take up the downtown areas or
Yeah.
economic centers where there's been a lot of commercial. You being in Houston, which has a lot of those kinds of areas, are you seeing the shift to work at home or work from home more in your own markets, or what's kind of the current situation there?
We are seeing some of that. Luckily, Houston has a lot of medical as well, and it's spread out
Yep.
everywhere. So those are pretty constant sources of daytime population
Yeah.
and late night population. But the downtown market did take a hit, and we saw a couple stores have to adjust their scheduling because they're just if you're downtown and there's nobody downtown, you gotta
Yeah.
wait for a good dinner. You know what I mean? But we are seeing that work from home affect some of it. And like I said, the ticket count shifted from daytime to
Mm-hmm.
ours didn't exactly triple, but it doubled at most stores
Mm-hmm.
where for the weekly tickets. So we did see that shift.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, so ticket uptake was higher because you're obviously have to deliver to more places to reach the same numbers. Going back to catering, and because this is something that we're continuing to kind of really analyze, and where is catering going? What is catering going to be? You kind of alluded to it that we're going to see catering kind of get revived, but it's going to happen in smaller packages. What do you think about the packaging systems themselves? Because obviously going into catering, where it used to be kind of, we'll call it smorgasbord style, where everything is kind of open, not individually packed. How are you guys seeing that being addressed in terms of your packaging strategy there?
Well, I mean, that was one of the biggest things we had to get accustomed to is individually packing all these caterings, because
Right.
it adds to your packaging cost, it adds to your
Right.
labor at that time. It's easier to pack one order for 80 when you can do it buffet style than 80 individual
Yep.
orders. So that is
Yep.
definitely something you have to be aware of and have a plan to address. We're trying to lock down supply. Now that we're growing, we're really leaning on the volume and coming volume. We're opening 12 to 15 stores this year, to really lock down our supply so we can standardize that. During the pandemic, there was a supply issue that made it hard, to give the guests consistency because of the
Hmm.
packaging that was available or wasn't available at the time.
Right.
But I think the individual packaging will continue. I still see people that want to order it buffet style, family style.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I do think that will come back. It just depends, I guess, on the vaccine, and it won't be as quick as the vaccine going out and everything going to normal. I foresee
Right.
people, still masking up, still social distancing as much as they see fit. But I do see it going back within, I don't know, I would say 2 years to
Yeah,
where
I think
everybody will go back to bulk orders, like we call
yeah, a little bit, and it's going to take, it's a gradual approach towards society kind of returning to normal.
them.
Obviously, all of that happens if everything kind of stays status quo and we're kind of moving out of this. If you are looking at this model and we see a recession hit, we're out of the pandemic, but now we economically are in some trouble. Do you feel like your business model is built for a recession-proof scenario?
Well, I don't know if anything is recession proof. I'm optimistic that I don't think the recession will be that bad. Houston is typically, absorbed that in the past a lot easier than others. But overall, the model is very defensive in the sense that the costs are very fixed and manageable. You
Right,
can
right.
you can defend at times where you need to, because we have during, let's say, just random things like construction around
Yep.
the site. You can
Yeah.
defend and be ready to strike when it comes available. Um,
Right.
I mean, it's all, controllable cost. You're selling less, you're ordering less, you're staffing less. So, business basics wise, it is very simple, and the levers you can pull are very manageable and in
Yeah.
real time for you to be able to adjust.
Well, and I think, we've talked about it here in the episode is that real estate, those are fixed costs that typically crush a P&L pretty
Hmm.
quickly if you're not maintaining a sales revenue volume. And that is something that you guys have kind of positioned against. So I think you might be recession proof out there in the sense that you
Fingers
can kind
crossed.
of last a little bit longer with maybe a little bit more runway in cash if you ever had to run into slower sales periods of that nature. So it's interesting to see your model work. Pete, it's been great having you on the show. I love getting operators like you on here who are doing things a little bit differently. Next time I'm in Houston, I'm gonna have to order some Fajita Pete's for sure, and I'll give
Come
you a
on by.
call and come check you
Yep.
out.
Perfect.
Great
Thank you
having
very
you on the
much for
show.
having me.
Thanks for stopping in. All right, so all of you listening in over on the podcast, on iTunes, Spotify, maybe Amazon Music, the way we get feedback from you is if you leave a rating or give us a review. Those are the ways that we kind of get understanding of how and what we're doing here on Fast Casual Nation that works for you. I also get a lot of people that hit me up on Twitter. Feel free to do so. Sometimes I can't address all of those, and if you do DM me, sometimes I don't get to those as quickly, but you can always hit me up on Twitter at Paul Barron. If you have a show idea or you have someone like Pete or Fajita Pete's that you think would be a great brand for being interviewed here on Fast Casual Nation, shoot us an email to producer@foodabletv.com. We'll catch you next time right here on Fast Casual Nation.